Are you looking for a gift for a mechanic, car enthusiast, or even someone that just wants to get into little DIY repairs? This guide is to help you tailor your gift choice to a great gift, not just a, you like cars, here's car thing, that you will find across the internet. This will help you pick the right item for various skill levels, and I'll even point out some tools to avoid too. I know some viewers won't understand what a lot of this stuff is, and I have a solution for that. Those of you that do, I recommend sharing this video. For those that don't, lots of this stuff I own, so I will personally be showing them in use when I can. The video description will contain chapters to save you time, and links to everything will be in the description sorted by chapter. More importantly, nobody paid me to insert any of these items into this list. I don't even have a product of my own to cram in here. Let's get started with tools. Tools are useful to everyone. Even if you never touch a bolt on a car, a good screwdriver set is great to have around the house to open battery access panels, make small repairs, and fix that loose wall switch. That's better. Now, the typical mechanic approach is to get a set of actual screwdrivers, since they don't have any slack in them at all. But most mechanics will already have a set, as it is a foundational tool. This option I'm about to suggest I avoided using for years because I always encountered cheaply made ones that were full of frustrations. These are two examples of that. Weak magnets, sloppy build quality, and with this one, the ratchet mechanism pops out of place when you use it. These are two great options, the channel lock and LTT screwdrivers. These both store bits in the handle, which doubles as a smooth rotation point for your palm. I am currently finishing up testing for a full review of these, but so far the LTT screwdriver is the superior model, but the channel lock comes very close to it with some cost savings. Maybe you want to get them something more impressive than a screwdriver. For beginners specifically, a good wrench set or a ratchet and socket set can put them on the path to success. Quality matters here because these tools do break when you really push the cheap ones. And if you happen to live where cars get rusty, they're going to be really pushing these tools more often than not. My whole collection of sockets and wrenches is almost exclusively gear wrench. I haven't received any of these from a sponsor, I just like the cost to performance ratio of this brand. There are other good brands out there and I'll link you to a few options, including at least one made in the USA. Two ratchets I would like to highlight are the Roto-Head ratchet and the 120 XP ratchet. The Roto-Head has been my first grab ratchet for over 10 years now. A lot of my older gear wrench tools are red because that's their old color, but a lot of the orange tools are just as good, if not improved, in the handle design. The 120 XP ratchet is another great option. It has 120 ratcheting positions that let you use it in tight spaces. Plus it has a great feel when you're using it, practically none of your movement is wasted. My holiday wish is for Gear Wrench to make a 120 XP Roto-Head, but until then, these two are my two favorite ratchets. Can't choose between screwdriver or ratchet? This kit may be the solution. It is an interesting combination of small tools that takes up very little space and is simultaneously beginner friendly, and yet you get this weirdly high-end ratchet. This is one of those 120 XP models that also has a pivoting head that you can lock into position for working in tight spaces. I haven't used this set much at all because almost everything in it is redundant in my collection. I kinda messed up when I ordered this because I assumed the screwdriver in here was a ratcheting model. It is not. However, I actually prefer it over the current sloppy ratcheting screwdriver they have on offer, but I'm saving my full thoughts on that for a dedicated video. If the person you're buying for spends a lot of time on YouTube learning how to fix cars, they may be pretty interested in the ChrisFix Extendable Ratchet Set. I plan on doing a full review of these later, and I will say these aren't perfect, but they are quite good. These aren't the only ratchets on the market that have this extending trick, but anyone that spends any amount of time learning how to fix cars on YouTube knows the name ChrisFix. These are useful tools, but they're also a fun conversation piece when you have a friend over to help you work on a repair. Now, when you're buying for someone that isn't a beginner, you may need to think outside the box because they likely have a bunch of ratchets, wrenches, and sockets. Adding an unconventional way to augment those tools is your best bet there. For example, this Gimbal Ratchet is a great way to quickly use a socket in a similar way to a ratcheting screwdriver, but in a more ergonomic way. The typical size for automotive use is 3/8, but the 1/4 inch size is good for tight space and low clearance stuff. If in doubt, the 3/8 is the way to go. Also, my preferred brand here also seems to be the lowest price option lately, so double win there. What about wrenches though? Sometimes a situation comes up where a wrench is the right tool for the job, it just needs to be longer so you get more leverage. Instead of buying a whole full set of long wrenches, a wrench extender is one tool that improves the usefulness of all the wrenches they already own. However, this is another tool you don't want to cheap out on. The whole point of this tool is to use it to apply a lot of force, and if the tool is poorly designed or made of weak material, injuries are going to happen. While I'm sure there are other good brands out there, I found 2 good ones among a veritable sea of garbage. If you're not sure how skilled someone is or how many tools they have, there are some tools that you can never have enough of, and they're also not too expensive. First one is a good pick set. Picks have a ton of uses, but sometimes you need a specific shape or size. This set of picks I actually own 2 sets of. Plus, the design flaw that caused this pick to pull out has been fixed, though I was able to get a free warranty replacement for it anyway, and the replacement I was sent is the new design. Pry bars are one of those tools that sometimes you need duplicates of. Here I've got quite a few redundancies because sometimes the big ones don't fit but you need to use more than one, and sometimes you just need the brute force of as many of the biggest ones as you've got. Also, different brands have different tip designs and angles, and sometimes one specific version of a pry bar is what you need. I actually still have the box these channel lock bars came in. Look at this. This is going to look great being unwrapped and opened. The gear wrench pry bars are interesting too. These can be repositioned so they fit in way more places. Tools to avoid. Even if you don't end up going with anything I recommend today, I can at least save you and whoever you are buying for some headache with some tools to avoid. The big one is this universal socket. It's not completely useless, as it can be fairly good at grabbing onto small wing nuts and oddly shaped stuff you don't encounter often. However, it sells itself as being able to do way more than it can truly handle, particularly rounded fasteners. Those are typically rounded because they are already difficult to remove, and these sockets just don't bite strong enough for these situations. Also, there are so many fakes out there that you are unlikely to get a good one. Next, avoid anything where the brand name looks like someone just dropped something on the keyboard, or products that have a whole bunch of listings from different brands that all use the same product photo. One day I'll cover this in more detail, but it's a pretty easy way to spot the lowest quality items on any given web store. A less obvious thing to avoid is anything with a specialized system of connectivity or similar unique qualities. What I mean is, if you know someone owns an air compressor, don't buy them air fittings unless you know exactly what code they are already using. A lot of them don't connect with each other, and even some that do may have an airflow restriction that doesn't work. Similarly, don't pick a battery-powered tool brand for them unless they have made it clear what brand they want. Battery-powered tools really push you into an ecosystem because the batteries only work with one brand, and sticking with one brand and one battery type makes working with these tools easy. Imagine if you've owned Apple products all your life and someone got you a Samsung watch. It's kinda like that. Sometimes it's the things that make life a little easier, less annoying, or just offer peace of mind that make the best gifts. The first thing that I think of for peace of mind is a backup jump pack. These replace jumper cables by letting you carry the power you need in your trunk. They're also great for project cars that sit around draining the battery, and most of them double as a power bank for charging your phone. The one I own is over 10 years old at this point, and while it's good and still working, technology has advanced so far since then that I couldn't recommend this one even if it was still available. While I have no hands-on experience with Noco and Hulkman, I have heard good things about both from people whose opinions on the product category I trust. Sometimes repairs take a long time and you're on your feet leaning over at weird angles for hours. While there's no getting around the fact that working this long in a weird position is going to wear someone out, an anti-fatigue mat can certainly make things more comfortable. If I had one, I'd place one of those mats right here when I go to work on the vehicle. You might even have a similar mat in your kitchen, so you already know how good these things are. Next is something that I found way more fun and useful than I originally expected: a thermal camera attachment for smartphones. There are a lot of automotive uses for this, particularly around monitoring exhaust components, but it is really handy to have around the house during hot and cold seasons to track down where you're losing heating or cooling to the outside. Fixing issues like that can save you on heating and cooling costs, potentially saving you the cost of the camera. You can also look for things that still waste power when plugged in, such as this power adapter that isn't doing anything. You can probably come up with your own unique uses for it, like seeing if the dog lays on the bed when you're not in the room. Being able to see heat is a fascinating new way to look at the world. These are phone dependent, so make sure you select the correct phone. I use the FLIR 1 Pro, but there's also a non-Pro version with a lower resolution. Both of them come with a secondary standard camera that can be blended with the infrared to make an image that makes more sense, which not all thermal cameras do, or at least do well. That's why there will be 2 different resolutions mentioned on both products. I'll also include a link to their more standalone line of compact thermal cameras, but they're a little more expensive. This person you're buying for. Does their driveway have an oil stain that seems to get bigger and darker every year? This gift may be an amusing way to point that out while helping them reduce the growth of that oil stain. This funnel kit has a set of adapters that let you attach the funnel to the engine so you don't have to worry about it moving while you're pouring oil. Plus, it eliminates one of the most annoying parts of using a funnel, the narrow tip that slows down the filling process. Not only does this kit cover most major brands, it also comes with a panel for holding all the adapters, a drip tray to catch whatever oil remains, and the tubes are transparent so you can see if you're pouring oil too fast, even if you have a tall truck and can't look down the funnel as you pour. A Borescope camera isn't something I use all the time, but when I do use it, it really saves the day. A while back I had a tool fall into the engine bay in such a way that I couldn't even just call it a lost tool and buy another one. It fell in a spot where it could potentially shift and jam up the steering. I could have reached around with almost zero visibility, but this tool saved the day by letting me see where the tool was jammed so I could pick it up without dropping it again or making it worse. The one I own is having battery problems, so I'm going to find a different option to link to in the description. Does the person you're buying for have more interest in driving than tinkering? Maybe they want to make videos for social media? An action camera or equipment for it may be a great gift for them. Action cameras have a focus on stabilization, and even my old GoPro has better stabilization than any modern phone I've tried out. That stabilization can give you great video footage of nearly any vehicle you mount it to. So I'm including links to the current GoPro in 2 versions and 2 options for sturdy suction cup mounts. I have been using this Delkin one for years after I replaced a different one after a few months because even if the GoPro can handle vibration, the mounts can't always and can slowly sag down and ruin the shot over time. Now, I kind of wish I got the triple suction version because you can actually take it apart and use it as 2 separate mounts. One of them being this single suction cup version I own. However, the triple is way beyond what you typically need for a small camera like a GoPro. Unless you're buying it for someone that would want to use a larger camera, the single mount version is all you'll need. Don't forget an SD card that can handle 4K video. If you want to get a little bit of indoor fun that doesn't get anyone's hands dirty, LEGO has a lot of options for various car models to build. For beginners, Speed Champions is an excellent line of relatively small models. For intermediate builders, the Icons line has larger vehicles that sometimes feature working mechanical parts like steering. For the most advanced builders, Technic offers large vehicles with a focus on functional inner workings, with some of them actually having you build a transmission that shifts gears. While LEGO can get a little expensive, near the end of the production run of a given set, the prices tend to drop, and I made an effort to link to some of those sets to help you save some money. You can make a more informed choice based on the taste of whoever you're buying for, but I figured since I already have a LEGO buying strategy of my own, I'd pass it along to my viewers as well. Here's a fun one that comes from a small business. The valve pen is a metal pen that is machined to look like an engine valve. The shape of the real thing just happens to be a great shape to be a pen and its holder. The pen itself can be taken apart so that you can replace the ink rod when it's done. I like the basic silver one, but it does come in other colors, and sometimes they even sell fancier versions. The ink it comes with writes nicely, but they also sell a Fisher Space Pen refill that is supposed to be even better. I've owned my valve pen for about 1.5 years at this point, and it lives on my desk. If you're not sure what color to get, silver is the most true to the source material color for a typical valve. If the person you're buying for runs an automotive business, this seems like an excellent option. Just don't let it get lost in the shop where the real valves end up. Now it's time for the stocking stuffer round. This is mostly small stuff that isn't going to leave your wallet empty. First off is something that can sometimes be a present to you as much as it is to someone else. A durable, high data speed, high charging speed cord to connect your phone to your car. You've probably got a cord in the car right now that is on its last legs already. It's constantly disconnecting or taking forever to charge your phone. No more. Get a good one that can last because they experience way more wear and tear than whatever you're using in the house. Be aware of the type of connection their car and their phone uses. While most modern phones use USB-C, their charging port may not be USB-C yet. In fact, if they have an older car without built-in USB ports, they may need an adapter plug, so I'll link to a good one of those too. Next, scan tools. I've owned a lot of scan tools, and there's a lot of scan tools out there. The two big things you want to consider with them is, are you willing or do you even need to go for the full feature loadout, and do you want a wired or wireless version? The most basic OBD2 scan tools are going to give someone that doesn't have the tool a lot more diagnosing power and features that they would otherwise not have. But scan tools can get quite powerful and even big enough that they aren't really stocking stuffers anymore. I like wired connections over wireless in nearly everything, but having used a wireless scan tool, I'm definitely coming around to it. I don't recommend this powerful scan tool for beginners as it does give you access to feature calibrations, which can be done incorrectly and make a mess of things. The cheaper ones are also the safer ones here. I'll link to the less powerful, less expensive version of this tool. This next item you can never have too many of: metal cleaning brushes. These typically come in 3 bristle types: soft, brass, and steel. I feel like a lot of DIY repair folks hang on to these brushes way too long after they wear out, but maybe that's just me. While you can get nicer versions of these brushes, the cheap ones are typically the most bang for your buck, unless it's absolutely vital that the bristles don't break off during the project. But if we're tackling a project like that, we typically know to order a good fresh brush. I'll include links to a few options, but again, this is one of the only times in the video I'm going to be saying buy the cheap ones with confidence. This next one is going to be a little challenge for you, but over the past few years, Hot Wheels has been making cars that double as a wrench. There used to be just one design, but there's another one now, and I believe they are different size wrenches. The reason why this is a challenge is you're going to have to look for them in person. However, they're only about $1.25 each, making them one of the least expensive options in this whole video. It's fun, it's goofy, it's not a serious tool since they're made of a soft metal alloy, but what a perfect size for a stocking stuffer. Another great stocking stuffer is a work light. I've gone through a few of these and they all live a rough life getting dropped and bumped into, so it's no surprise the cheap ones go bad. They don't go bad super quick, but they always seem to give up when you need them most. A decent light isn't that expensive, so I'll link to a few good ones so you can pick whatever is the best deal at the moment. The last gift idea I don't have a link for. Spend time with your people. Get to know why they are passionate about what they get passionate about, and share some good times together. Stuff breaks, gifts aren't always perfect, but making sure you've got that much more time with someone, that's a pretty good gift.